Senator Shaheen.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that would help a lot is passing the supplemental funding bill so that Ukraine could keep their government operations open and continue to fight the war against Russia. So let's don't forget that. I think this is a question for Dr. Rand, but also maybe for Mr. Lang, because last month the World Economic Forum released a report that cited misinformation and disinformation as the most concerning global risk of the next 2 years. And I would argue that it's one of the greatest threats to democracy, both at home and abroad. So obviously the State Department has a Global Engagement Center that is intended to lead our response to address disinformation campaigns, but I think there has been some challenges in getting the Global Engagement Center to do the kind of coordination and cooperation that needs to happen in order to be effective. So can you talk about how you would implement countering disinformation and democracy programming in coordination with the Global Engagement Center? And then I'll ask you, Mr. Lang, also if you would respond to that.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Senator. And I would just want to say off the bat that as Assistant Secretary, if confirmed, I will work with these colleagues, but also across the State Department. This is a cross-State Department effort, including with the new Bureau of CDP and the regional bureaus and the Global Engagement Center and GPA, et cetera. You've identified a critical issue, and DRL's foreign assistance programs are trying to make a dent in this problem, including by working on internet freedom. DRL has a very advanced and specific set of programs that are trying to promote independent voices when there's censorship afoot. We are finding around the world that blocking internet is a tool of the autocrats, and then, flooding the zone with mis and disinformation, as you rightly put, as a way to shore up authoritarians and those who want to threaten the freedom. So it's that combination of censorship and then misinformation, which is very dangerous, and we're seeing it even this month. Frankly, there have been instances where we've seen new instances of it. So if confirmed, I'm going to take a look at all the foreign assistance programs we have. I suspect that we can do more with CDP and with others to update them and to integrate them. There's also the interagency that has good ideas. And I also want to talk to experts. The White House just issued its EO on AI, and that artificial intelligence and new technologies are making this much more complicated. So I would like to work with all of those technical experts to see what we can do on our foreign assistance programs.
Thank you, Mr. Lang.
Thank you, Senator Shaheen, and I agree that this is a critical issue and one that the United States government and the State Department needs to fully engage on. The Cyberspace and Digital Policy Bureau has a coordinator for digital freedom who leads our efforts on misinformation and disinformation. So I'm not a part of that team, but I know that they have prioritized this, especially working through the OECD's Misinformation and Disinformation Hub, of which the United States is a co-chair of the steering group. So that has been one of the key channels that we have tried to advance our interests on this critical issue.
I appreciate that, and I know there's a lot of good work going on. I would argue that one of the challenges we have is that nobody's in charge. There's a lot of effort, but no one person who is responsible, and that hinders our ability to move forward in a coordinated way. Let me stay with you, Mr. Lang, for a very parochial issue that deals with some of the technical aspects of your position. One of the challenges that we've had in northern New Hampshire that I think is shared by some of our neighbors along the Canadian border is that we have challenges between our small rural communities and communicating, particularly for law enforcement and safety issues, because of the licensing process that requires approval by both the FCC and Canada's ISED to change where towers go and where radio communications can happen. Let me give a lot of credit to Ambassador Cohen, who's been very helpful with our office in trying to address these issues. But if confirmed, would you be willing to help assist us in working on this problem? Because it's a very real challenge for some of those very small communities.
Thank you, Senator Shaheen. The FCC has the lead in managing those issues, but of course my team works hand in hand with the FCC all the time in their engagements with international partners, and we would be more than happy to help facilitate those efforts to resolve those issues.
Thank you. And Dr. Rand, you mentioned Belarus in your opening statement, or maybe it was in your response to Senator Cardin. But how specifically would you work with USAID and with Voice of America to support independent media and human rights defenders in Belarus who have really done an amazing job under very difficult circumstances with Lukashenko as in charge?
Right, Senator, and Lukashenko's deepening sort of techniques and tactics, which are, again, utilizing new technologies. So you have to keep up with the innovation of some of these autocrats. Yes, this is a whole government effort in Belarus, and USAID is doing tremendous work as well. DRL has one piece of this puzzle, which is to help some of the human rights defenders, especially when they're out of the country and trying to continue to build civil society networks outside the country. Of course, there's also important work that other agencies are doing. There's also, DRL has a role in the diplomacy here, right? Raising these issues in Belarus at the multilateral forum, making sure other governments in Europe that have a lot on their plate, frankly, when it comes to democratic erosions and backsliding in their region, also raise the issues in Belarus. So I see DRL as both a programmatic office, but really, frankly, a diplomatic office that needs to continue pressuring the diplomats around me to ensure that these issues are raised everywhere they go.
Well, thank you, and congratulations to all of you. And Ms. Welton, I'm out of time, but I very much appreciate the importance of your role in the Indo-Pacific as we're looking at countering China. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.